So here we are over in Lincolnshire, and it's my second trip of the full ticket on this venue. I fished here quite a bit during the winter months, did a couple of vlogs on here and caught some really nice fish. Now I wasn't planning on fishing here at all during the summer months because I was going to be fishing down on Roach Pit, which is right on the south coast, but unfortunately the beginning there has recently passed away, so I've had a bit of change of plans. I've come over here. It's the third week of the full ticket. It started early part of July. I missed the full opening week because I was fishing elsewhere and had plans to do bits and pieces with Avid, and I came over here last week and managed to catch myself 3 nice fish. The biggest was a 32-pound mirror, but unfortunately I lost a couple of fish during that trip, so I was a bit gutted about that, because when you know what's in this lake, losing any fish is going to be an absolute downer. But I'm back here again, and I arrived yesterday evening at about 6 o'clock. It was teeming down and there wasn't many people on the lake, but I didn't see any fish in the main swims, but I did see fish in front of this swim. Now this is a swim that I've had a look at with the echo sounder quite a few times when I've been down here in the winter, and it's actually got some really nice features out in front. And when I got into this swim, I saw 3 fish bosh, one of which was a really decent fish, so I decided to plop myself up in here. And then just before dark yesterday evening, which was probably about 9 o'clock, it was teeming down with rain. I had a couple of bleeps. It was a really big fish bite, if I'm honest. It was just a couple of bleeps. It tightened up. I then leant into the fish, and for the next 20 minutes I was attached to a really good fish. And if I'd have lost it, I would have thought it was probably one of the biggest fish in the lake, because it was a really big fish bite, one of those really plodding fish. Didn't want to come up off the bottom, but eventually it did, and I netted myself a 38-pound mirror, which, looking at the tally of fish that's on the Facebook page, it's one of the 40-pounders in here. It's topped out at £40.10 looking at the stat. Hasn't got a name, but it's another one of the 40-pounders that's in here, even though it didn't weigh £40 for me. £38 is good enough, and to catch a fish in those conditions, I was really happy. And it came from my middle rod as you're looking at it, not too far out. There's a nice weed bed just in front of here. It goes down to about 7-8 foot. And just in a fish top now, just in the swim. It's not in my water, that's probably in the swim that's opposite me in doubles, but there's plenty of fish on the end of this wind, and I've seen a few this morning as well topping. But it's got lots of nice features out here, including a nice bar that's to the left, and we've also got a nice plateau just in front where it comes up to about 5 or 6 foot. So it's a perfect place to intercept fish as they go into this bay to the right, and that's where I've got my right hand rod. That's just on the opening mouth of the bay there. So, you know, a lot of variety in this swim. I don't think it gets fished a great deal either. It's one of those areas that does get neglected. A lot of lads come to this lake and fish in the open water swims out into the middle, where you do get some really big hits of fish, but I'm happy just picking up 1 or 2 here and there, especially when they end up being 38 pounds. So yeah, I've got a couple of nights ahead of me now. Then I've got a few weeks off because I'm off to Germany next week for 10 days, and then I've got a trip with my missus up to the Lake District, so it's going to have to take a back seat, this one, unfortunately. But I'd love to be fishing it a little bit more every week consistently, because I'm sure there's going to be some really good fish out in the next few weeks, because none of the top 3 big ones have been out since the syndicate started. So yeah, you never know what might happen, but it's good to be back on air, and it's also good to be catching 1 or 2 fish as well. It's chucking it down at the minute, and I've not been here very long. I was just getting ready to go to bed and I had a couple of bleeps. Looked out, nothing was happening. Lifted into it, and lo and behold, I've got this massive mirror on the end of it, so beaming. Proper happy times. Oh, lump of a mirror this is. Oh, what a carp. Proper drenched at the minute. Soaked through to the skin, but I'm smiling, and that is what carp fishing is all about. That view is a massive contrast to what it was like earlier with all that driving rain, but yeah, we were a few hours on from when I last did a bit of filming this morning, and The wind swung round, it's brightened up a little bit. I've not seen as many fish showing, but I'm going to give it another night. You know, I'm one of these anglers who gets these questions in his head every now and again. I sit there thinking, shall I move, shall I stay? I'm trying to work out the puzzle all the time. That's what's going on in my head. And I've had 2 fish out of here now on 2 different rods from 2 different spots, so I'm kind of sitting here thinking it's a tight area this, so I'm probably not going to get another bite out of here. But because I've had 2 fish, I think I've got to give it at least one more night, because I've seen fish in the bay to the right just cruising around on the surface. Now they've got to have got in there somehow, so I'm guessing they've come across the middle area, which is that nice little shallow plateau, and I've just got rods just scattered along there, and I've still got one on my long range spot where I have seen fish today. Now I did catch one off that spot as well, but I do think that spot especially definitely gets visited on a regular basis, because when I fish in doubles I always see fish topping there. So catching one off it, I don't think that's going to stop me from catching another one from there. But this plateau in front of here, it's only shallow there, so catching one off there, probably a chance that anything coming into the bay or leaving the bay is going to be a little bit spooked. So that's where I'm sitting here thinking, shall I move? But I'm going to walk around the lake this afternoon with the dog. I never really saw any signs of fish showing anywhere, so I may as well do at least another night here. And if nothing happens, then tomorrow about midday I'll get myself packed away. I'll have a good look around the lake and see if there's anywhere else worth having a go at, because I'll still have 24 hours left of this session, so I want to make sure that I make the most of it, because I'm not down here for another 3 weeks. So decisions. These are some of the questions that always go through my mind when I'm fishing, because I'm always trying to stay one step ahead of the carp, especially at this time of the year when there's a bit of pressure on the lake. And you know what it's like with fish, they can get a little bit finicky. So yeah, let's sit and hold tight and see what happens then. What a beautiful carp that is. Absolutely stunning. And there's some bigger fish than this in here as well that's equally as nice. That is gorgeous. Show you the other side. There's the other side of it. What a beautiful carp that is. First light. Definitely don't mind being waking up like this. Lovely. let's set this thing up straight. And I hope you can hear me okay, because it's a little bit breezy at the moment, because we're at that time of the year. Some people call it the end of summer, some people call it the start of autumn. It's September now, a great fishing month, and I'm just looking back at my summer fishing on this water, which has been about 7 weeks, I think, since the season opened. And I've not been down here as much as I'd like to. I'd love to have been down here every week, because when you're targeting a lake, I always think staying in tune with the water is always going to give you a massive advantage. And because of the way that the rules work on this lake, in that you can do 72 hours and you've got to be off for 96 hours, and also the type of job that I have it means I'm all over the place, dashing between different venues during the summer months. It's meant that I've not been able to come down as consistently as I'd like to have done. So I've not stayed in tune with the water, is what I'm trying to say, because the more regularly you come, the more you walk around a lake, the more you get to see it, the more you get to know where the fish are, you get to know the spots, you get to know what's working, and it gives you a massive advantage. And I seem to think that every time I come down here at the moment, I'm playing a little bit of catch up. The one thing I've definitely learned about this venue is that the tactics that I've been using on here, which is mostly fishing 3 different spots and putting 3 different baited areas out in the swim, whilst it's done me regular fish, it's not done me any of the big ones. And the bigger fish tend to be coming out, from what I can see anyway, to these guys that are fishing in a same swim regularly, baiting one particular area and fishing 3 rods, almost tram line, towards one tight baited spot. Certainly for Craig Livingston, he's done really well down here. He's had some big commons and some big mirrors, and 1 or 2 of the others have, including Gary Dennis. They've done quite well fishing that kind of method. It's almost like a day ticket method. And whilst this is a syndicate water, it has been quite busy during the summer months. Not necessarily busy in one go, but there's been a good turnover of anglers fishing the same swims consistently, which have been seeing that regular amount of bait, and I think that's been a massive advantage on here. The way I've been fishing it is just with boilies, just using the bug from DNA. It's the bait that I used last winter when I was on here, and I did quite well, and I've been fishing it every other week probably during the summer. I've caught some lovely carp from here so far, and we've got some great times to come in the next few weeks as well, because I always think in the autumn time, whilst you might not get more consistent action, you definitely get some of the better fish, and they're definitely much better looking at this time of the year as well. So hopefully over the next month, 2 months, because I've got September and I've got October to fish on here. I won't be fishing much in November because I've got a few things going on, and December also, it sort of tends to quiet down for me with family things taking precedence. But something I get asked quite a lot by people is, how do you get your name down onto waters like this? Well, the longer you've been around carp fishing, the more doors will open for you, because it's about networking more than anything, getting to know the venues, getting to know some of the off the radar venues, getting your name down on waters through friends that you know that you've maybe seen on the bank many years before. And you know, it's a little bit like chasing women, I suppose, is that you have to pre-bait your spots when it comes to getting your name on syndicates, because you've got to keep your name out there, you've got to keep your name on lists, you've got to keep paying the subscription fee sometimes, and just keep in regular touch with the owners. And another thing that's definitely worth mentioning here is get yourself out there through some of these Facebook groups that's out there. One that I can definitely recommend is Angling Syndicate Availability, which has got 17.4 thousand members. So there's lots of discussion taking place in these kind of groups about where's got availability, and definitely in recent times there's a lot more syndicate waters that's got availability than they had in the past, because I think people are getting a little bit tight for money, and syndicate tickets have got quite expensive in recent times. So now's the time to get yourself out there and to join some of these exclusive syndicates, and these are all available to everybody if you get your name out there and you're willing to wait and willing to go through the process of getting tickets. Sometimes you have to go down for interviews so they get to know you. Sometimes you have to go down to put a deposit down and keep that deposit going down on a regular basis, just to keep your interest in there. So it's about putting the effort in and just waiting your turn, and sometimes it does take quite a while to get your tickets. I can remember doing a story when I used to work at Carp Talk about a guy called Jim Gibbinson, a really famous carp angler from the past, who he put his name down for a syndicate and eventually joined it after about 30 years of waiting, which is some serious time. You know, for myself, it's taken me several years to get myself onto syndicate water. So you've got to have a lot of patience to get yourself onto the waters that everybody wants to be a member of. You know, syndicate fishing is definitely different to day ticket fishing because you can stay in tune with the waters, you can make friends for life by fishing these waters. And you know, I've got some great friends that I've made from joining great waters, and I'm still members of lots of syndicates that I've been members of for quite a year. Places like Girton, a really lovely syndicate down in Nottingham, where I was fortunate to catch a big one from last year, and I'll keep fishing that water because it's well run and there's lots of nice members on there. Alan Cooper's waters down south, they're another group of great waters to be a member of. Lots of nice lads on those venues that are all well vetted. So you know, syndicate fishing is really enjoyable. And you know, don't get me wrong, I have been a member of some syndicates where it's a little bit cliquey. I remember being on one venue where there was a WhatsApp group that was created for all of the members, but two of us weren't invited on because the guy that was running the WhatsApp group didn't like us. So you know, it can be a little bit cliquey on some waters, but you know, they're really few and far between. Syndicate fishing really on the whole is very enjoyable, and you know, so far I've really enjoyed fishing this venue, and I hope the next couple of months I've got some really good fishing to look forward to as well. So let's see how things unfold, eh? Tasty. Second one of the trip, and another 30 pounder, 31 pound mirror. Completely different strain of fish, this one, but nonetheless another beauty. Right then, it's late September now, and I'm fishing a swim that I've not fished before. This one's called Rat Point. Well, I've not seen any rats, but I've seen plenty of big fish showing in front. I've actually just heard one a few minutes ago before I turned the camera on, which sounded like an absolute donkey coming out. And I think the reason for that is because the wind at the minute has been blown really strong westerly. It's just slightly changed to southwesterly now, but it's been blown westerly into this area. And as you'd expect in these kind of conditions in September, the lake is busy. I think there was 12 cars in the car park when I walked round, and everybody's come out because the weather's perfect. It's been quite warm, and now the fish are feeding. There's been a couple of big units out this week, a couple of 46s, a couple of the rarer ones that have not made an appearance this year. So there's still 2 or 3 of the top 10 fish which ain't been out yet, so anything can happen on a lake like this because there's so many big fish in here. I'm not really my first choice to swim, but I've got what I think is a decent area because I've got access to that middle part of the lake at the moment, because I'm just fishing slightly to my right. You can only fish, I think it's about 18 wraps in this swim, 19 wraps, about 75 yards out, so I am restricted what I can do. I've got a guy straight in front of me who's fishing right out to the middle, and I've got one slightly to me right past the bay in a swim that's called Doubles, who's fishing out quite far as well. So, but I still have got a lot of water to myself here, and the fish are definitely here, so I've definitely got a chance of catching something. Now, I've got a couple of nights ahead of me. Normally I'd be liking 3 nights, but I've had a bit of a hectic 24 hours. I've been to the vets with the dog, and it was car MOT day, so on this lake you're only allowed to do a maximum of 72 hours per week, and I want to come back here next Sunday, so I'm only doing 48 hours, but I'm definitely confident. Let's hope something happens, because it looks really perfect for a carp or two in these conditions. Right, it's time to do some plugging because I've got myself a new bivvy. This is the new Exo Plus from CARP. It's just come out and it really is a damn fine piece of kit. If you want to find out more details about it, then get yourself on the CARP website and you'll be able to find all of the little specs to do with it. But the main reason why I like it is not just because it's new, but it is really easy to put up. I've had this thing out of the bag, opened up and pegged down in just over a minute, and the reason for that is because of these unique legs which just click into place. Central boss also, if I can just reach it. You just open it up, fan it out, and it all locks into place really easily, and it's nice and sturdy as well. You can see that. We've had all sorts of weather thrown at us over the last 48 hours. It was blowing a really strong westerly with gusts of about 40 mile an hour. It's now down to about 27, 28 in gusts, and it's blowing from the southwesterly. But it was blowing straight into that bivvy and it just hasn't budged at all. And you can see also, as is beautifully modelled by Bo the Carp Dog, it is really spacious in here. That is a Benchmark X bed chair. It's one of the new ones. I'll just show you the leg. You can see, there you go. That's one of the new ones, and we've got loads of space. I know it's messy, that's how I am though, but there's everything to hand in there. It's got a nice flat back as well, loads of options with the mozzie doors, the usual things that come with most bivvies nowadays. And the other good thing about it is it's nice and high. I can sit here on the bed chair looking out at the water. I'm not crouching down getting backache. Everything is very, very simple. It's called the Exo Plus, so if you want to find out any more details, get yourself onto the CARP website. Mega low pressure conditions at the minute, and in the space of a couple of hours I've landed two 35 pounders. Obviously looks a little bit different to the other one, not as many scales. This one's obviously one of the Simo strain, but you definitely don't want to turn one of these down on a day like today. Big old hefty fish, and a good old scrap as well. Lovely. We just had the most insane storm, and typically I'm not moaning before my missus watches this and says, "You're moaning again." I'm not moaning. I've had a bite right amongst it and got completely soaked. And the rule on here is when you get a fish, you've just got to deal with it straight away. So I had to deal with it in the storm, and I got absolutely drenched. Forgot to zip the bivvy door up. Virtually everything inside the bivvy is soaking wet. The poor old dog's hiding behind the bed chair trying to keep dry and out of the rain, but he has now calmed down, and I've got to pack up now because I've got to go and do a feature for DNA Baits over at Selby Free Lake. So yeah, hate packing up in the rain, but what a session. I've had three 35 pound plus carp since about 6 o'clock this morning, so awesome day's fishing. And this is what this lake is all about. It's just a special lake. Two of those fish that I've caught as well were really, really nice lookers, with the, I hate saying this, with the palest one of them being a fish known as single scale, which is one of the 40s, but it was really empty at 35 pounds. So brilliant session, totally soaking wet. And yeah, this is the life of the carp angler, somebody working in the trade. Got to pack up now in the rain, got to leave on fish as well, which is even worse, because I'd love to do another 24 hours here, and I can do, because I've only done, well, I've done less than 48 hours, but I've got to get somewhere else. So yeah, let's get packed up. What a carp. 35 pounds. Weight's irrelevant though. That is a magnificent fish. Absolutely magnificent.